Ridouan Taghi was locked inside the most secure prison in the Netherlands, a prison specifically designed to cut dangerous criminals off from the outside world. No phones, no internet, limited visits, constant surveillance. And yet, Dutch prosecutors believe that Taghi was still able to communicate from inside his prison cell. But how is that possible? How could a prisoner locked inside one of Europe's most secure facilities allegedly continue communicating with the outside world? That's exactly what we're looking at today. To understand why this case became so controversial, we first need to understand the EBI. The EBI, or Extra Beveiligde Inrichting, is the highest security prison in the Netherlands. Located in the town of Vught, it houses inmates considered extremely dangerous or highly influential. These are prisoners authorities believe could still pose a threat even while behind bars. Security inside the EBI is extreme. Inmates are monitored constantly. Their movements are restricted. Visits are tightly controlled. And communication with the outside world is kept to an absolute minimum. The entire purpose of the facility is simple: to ensure that prisoners can no longer influence events outside prison walls. But according to Dutch authorities, that may not have been the case with Ridouan Taghi. As time passed, investigators began noticing what they described as signs of possible communication from inside the prison. According to Dutch prosecutors, there were indications that messages may have been leaving the EBI. Exactly how this communication allegedly took place remained unclear for a long time, but authorities believed there was enough evidence to justify a major investigation, and that investigation continued to grow, because if the suspicions were true, it would mean that one of the Netherlands' most notorious criminals still had contact with people outside prison, the exact situation the EBI was designed to prevent. As a result, authorities began taking the allegations very seriously. For prosecutors, this wasn't simply about a few messages. The concern was much bigger. Authorities feared that communication from prison could potentially influence events beyond the prison walls. It raised serious questions about prison security, and it raised concerns about whether even the strictest prison system could completely isolate a high-profile organized crime figure. As a result, security measures surrounding Taghi became even stricter. More monitoring, more restrictions, more control. But despite those measures, the investigation continued, because investigators still wanted answers. How was communication allegedly happening? Who was involved? And how far did it go? The case soon sparked a wider debate across the Netherlands. If communication from inside the EBI was possible, what did that say about the prison system itself? Some people believed authorities were right to act aggressively. Others questioned whether certain measures were going too far. The discussion was no longer just about Ridouan Taghi. It became a debate about prison security, organized crime, and the balance between safety and the rule of law. And while the public debated the issue, investigators continued following every possible lead, trying to uncover exactly how the alleged communications were taking place. As prosecutors dug deeper into the case, their attention gradually shifted towards the people who still had contact with Taghi. Investigators wanted to know who had access to him, who could potentially receive messages, and who could potentially pass those messages on. The deeper they looked, the more complicated the investigation became, and eventually It led them to a name that few people expected, a name that would become the center of one of the most controversial legal stories in modern Dutch history, because the investigation didn't ultimately lead to a gang member, it didn't lead to a family member, and it didn't lead to a prison employee. Instead, it led to the person responsible for defending Ridouan Taghi, his lawyer, Enes Wesky. How did one of the most respected criminal defense attorneys in the Netherlands become the subject of a criminal investigation herself? And what exactly were the allegations against her? That's the story we'll cover in the next video. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure to subscribe to Crime Static. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video